Members of the Parliament, President of the Republic of Finland, Federal President of Germany, Speaker of the Parliament of Switzerland, Prime Minister, Ministers, distinguished guests, welcome to this unique occasion at the Parliament of Finland, Eduskunta. I would also like to extend our special welcome to Her Excellency Ambassador of Ukraine to Finland, Mrs. Olga Dibrova. Today we are witnessing the horrors of war in the middle of Europe. Russia launched in the early hour of 24th February unjustified and unprovoked military invasion in Ukraine. The war has since caused immense devastation and humanitarian suffering. We have just recently seen the appalling images from the liberated Bucha, where Russia has left behind countless number of dead civilians, women, children, men. Situation in Mariupol and many other towns and villages is the same or even worse. Those responsible for these war crimes need to be held accountable. At the same time, we have followed with the greatest admiration the courage and leadership of His Excellency President Zelenski and his fellow Ukrainians in their fight for freedom and independence of the homeland. Your bravery, resilience, and will to defend the nation deserves our utmost respect and support. We are all honored that President Zelensky is able to address today the Finnish Parliament from Kyiv despite in the midst of the war. Mr. President, you are warmly welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. For me, this is a great honor. Dear Mr. Speaker, dear Mr. President, dear Ms. Prime Minister, members of the government, members of the Parliament, Mr. Federal President of Germany, Ms. Chairwoman of the Swiss Parliament. I would like to start with what happened today. Russian military hit the railway terminal in the city of Kramatorsk. This is an ordinary railway terminal. People crowded, waiting for the trains to be evacuated to the safe territory. They hit these people. There are witnesses, there are videos, there are remnants of the missiles and dead people. About 30 killed and 300 wounded as of this moment just there. Again, this is just a rank and file railway terminal, just an ordinary town in the east of Ukraine. This is how Russia came to protect the Donbass, how they view the protection of the Russian-speaking population. And this is the 44th day of our reality. After 8 years of war in the east of Ukraine, I would like all of us to commemorate with the moment of silence all those who were killed by Russian missiles, Russian bombs, and Russian arms. Thank you.
Дякую.
Thank you. Russia, through all the capable forces of their army from all their territory, from the Far East, to fight against Ukraine. But this wasn't enough. So Russia is pulling together all the people who can hold arms to continue their aggression against Ukraine. They're looking for mercenaries from all over the world. They are sending the militants from all the terrorist groups and private armies that were established by some of the Russian officials. We have seen so many people among the prisoners, very experienced fighters and just the youngsters born in 2003. But no one can adequately explain why do they need this war against Ukraine? Why do they need to hit civilians with missiles? Why this cruelty that the world has witnessed in Bucha and other cities liberated by Ukrainian army? More than 200,000 of occupiers on our territory. There were lots of people who were running away, who consciously were raising their hands up, who were injuring themselves to go to the hospitals and avoid fighting. But the majority of the army continues fighting, not knowing what are they fighting for on our land. An absolutely insane and absolutely cruel war is waged, and sometimes you think whether they are human at all. Yesterday, the Russian soldiers just shelled a boat with the peaceful people in Kakhovka water reservoir. People were trying to save their lives by being evacuated, and they shelled them with missiles. These are dozens of meters away from the shore of the river, and they hit them with missiles. So in all the districts where the Russian army went in, there are hundreds of cars, civilian cars that were shot at and put on fire. They did see that these are just ordinary people. There is no danger, but they still were shooting. There are many examples of these cars with civilians that were simply crashed by the armored vehicles, just ran over them. You have seen what Russian military has done in the city of Bucha, but they're doing this butchery of this sort in Mariupol and Kramatorsk and Kharkiv and Kherson. And I think you do understand that if the Russian army will get the order to invade your country, they will do the same with your country as well. This is something I don't want you to witness. They will do the same what they did in the city of Bucha to your cities as well, to the cities of any country. Whatever the Russian Federation authorities will decide, as if this is their land, part of the empire. And even if Russian soldiers will not understand why they need to do this, they will still keep on fighting because this is hatred. This is the hatred to other people that is being nurtured among the people of Russia on the national level. Ladies and gentlemen, in your history, you have seen the invasion of Russia in your land, and this threat is still there. We have to do our best to make sure that this is not repeated again. The war of Russia against Ukraine is decisive not only for the future of our country and our nation, but all those who have a common border with Russia. Just like you, 83 years ago, Ukraine has the bravery to defend itself against such an enemy and such a power which is numerically superior. There are simply too many of them. Numerically speaking, they have a lot of equipment and a lot of missiles, lots of people who can be thrown to war, and a lot of oil and dollars and euro that are spent for the propaganda of aggression. But just like your courage rescued your country from the Stalin invasion, similarly, our courage resists this invasion 43 days now we have been doing so, but lots of things have to be done more. Unlike the Second World War, the democratic world understands that you can not simply turn the blind eye on the inspection of the tyranny. If the people are fighting for their freedom, they need to be supported. But ordinary people understand these things and these concepts more than some influential leaders. Smaller countries understand it better than some of the bigger countries. We have to consist the strong people of the world that such sanctions against Russia are needed, sanctions that will not be able to be bypassed, and sanctions that will stop their military machinery. We still have to ask for the assistance and the armament, and what we hear in response that we still have to wait for the fighter jets to come, for the anti-missile, anti-ship equipment to be delivered. They are telling us that we need to wait in the situation when we are losing hundreds of people on a daily basis because of the Russian attacks, when dozens of our cities have been destroyed. We still have to wait when more than 10 million people became IDPs. We still have to wait. In the reality, when more than 3 million have left their countries out of 10 million IDPs, together we need to do our best to make sure that these people will be able to come back home. We need to stop Russia. We need to stop the war, to make sure that peace is brought back to Ukraine and Russian occupiers would leave our sovereign territory. And this is something we cannot wait for. They tell us that we have to wait, but I have a question whether we, those who are killing Ukrainians, are to be held accountable, and those who are making us wait for the things that we need badly, wait for the means of protecting our lives, wait for weapons. And I'm very grateful to Finland that you didn't wait when this invasion of Russian Federation started, that you were very quick to help, that you made a historic decision of providing a defense support to Ukraine, for showing a principled position in sanction questions, that you are one of the moral leaders of our anti-war coalition. But I would like you to show even more leadership, both on the level of the European Union and bilaterally with the countries of the EU, to support our fight for freedom, for our common freedom. At the time when we have this war, when the tyranny is losing against in the war against Ukraine, and this will be the biggest contribution in the security of Europe, and therefore one of the biggest contribution to the security of your country. Therefore, we need weapons that some of the EU partners have. This is why we need powerful, efficient sanctions against Russia on a permanent basis, a sanction cocktail that would be remembered just like Molotov cocktails. Please insist on that. And I'm grateful to the Finnish companies who already ceased their operation in the Russian market, but we need to cut all the economic ties with this country. And I urge you to pressure all of your companies who continue supporting Russian war machinery through their taxes and excise taxes paid in Russia. We need to isolate all the Russian banks from the international banking system. We cannot be limited just by partial response to the Russian threat in Europe and threat to the democratic world, because the freedom will not survive if we leave channels that will be fed by these sources of income. And we need to think about how to protect Europe from the Russian energy weapon. Every educated person knows that The times of the fossil fuels is in the past. We cannot rely on coal and oil. We have to look for new sources of energy. And if Russia is abusing their energy resources to finance aggression against other nations and spreading hatred around the world, it means this should be an additional powerful incentive to speed up all the necessary decisions. How much longer can the Europe ignore the introduction of embargo against oil supplies from Russia? How much longer? This is the big question that environmental and military sectors are looking forward to. And I want you to ask this question very loudly to all the European unions for such a decision to actually be made. The world knows different modalities how this can be done. And if Europe doesn't want physically to stop these supplies now, if you're not prepared to do that, although this is still inevitable, at least as a first step, you need to introduce the scheme of restricting the money flows for oil to Russia. It should be accumulated on the special accounts without Russia accessing them. Let Russia first bring peace and be held accountable for the military crimes, and then get hold of their oil and dollars and gas and euro. So let them first remember what the Helsinki spirit is and restore that Helsinki spirit, and only after that they can start the discussion about economic issues if need be. And when we are talking that we need to stop the war, when we're saying that, I think this is something very clear to all the cultures in the world. And this is a clear message in different languages. When I say this in Ukrainian, I think there's no one who would not understand what it means, especially also if you say this in German, in Arabic or Chinese or any other language for that matter. We share this common value. The war is equally evil for everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, the people of Finland, I do believe that common sense will win, and that together we will be able to protect freedom and Ukraine. This is why we need to start thinking now how to rebuild our country after this war. The world knows about the leadership role of your country and your nation in the education sector. You have developed such an educational sector that allows you to protect personal freedom of the human being, make them educated, teach them respect to other people and an environment and the globe. And this is something we have to learn, and other countries have to learn. And in the 1.5 months of Russian aggression, 928 educational facilities have been destroyed or damaged, kindergartens, schools, universities. I welcome you and your companies, your experts, to join the efforts of rebuilding of our educational sector and join the efforts of modernization of education in Ukraine. We have to do our best that even after this super cruel war against our people would still have kind hearts and to be open to the rest of the world. I believe in this because the hatred has to lose, the freedom has to take over, at first in Ukraine and then all over the world where the tyranny will try to raise up their head. Thank you to Finland. Slava Ukraini.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President, for your powerful message and brave leadership. This Parliament and Finland as a whole have been united in supporting Ukraine's territorial integrity, sovereignty and independence. It is also our responsibility to urge Ukraine to defend herself and to fight for free and independent Ukraine. You are not only fighting for your country, but for all of us. For these reasons, Finland has, in addition to humanitarian and financial aid, for the first time in our history, submitted military assistance to a country at war, to Ukraine. Because Ukraine's cause is ours and because your case is just. As our Prime Minister recently stated, the question is not about if Ukraine wins, but when Ukraine wins. Mr. President, you can count on our unwavering support. We support your tireless efforts and agree on a ceasefire and provide humanitarian relief and corridors. We support your demands to Russia to stop the fight and withdraw from Ukraine. And once the peace has entered, we will be there with you to rebuild even stronger Ukraine, just like you want. We will stand with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.